It's June, motherfuckers. Happy Pride and happy hurricane season. I'm a native Floridian, if you couldn't tell, which means I have had to deal with hurricanes my entire life. I have also been keeping fish for a lot of said life. So here are some things that I have learned over time to keep my fish going during hurricanes. And the timing of this is important. The best time to make a plan and buy supplies is right now. It's when there's not a hurricane actively heading towards your area, because once there is a hurricane heading towards us, stores start getting crazy, things start going out of stock, some stores start price gouging. If you have to order something online, it might not get here in time, or the delivery fee might be crazy. It's a nightmare. On top of that, we already have to worry about food, kids, other pets, medications, sandbags, cars, trees. It's good to just figure out a plan for your fish tank now so you don't have to worry about it on top of everything else later. So the core of the issue is that there's a very good chance that if a hurricane hits your area, you're gonna lose power. Some of y'all are lucky and you don't. I am never lucky. I lose power every time. As we all know, fish tanks use a lot of power between heaters, filters, bubblers, CO2 systems, whatever the you have going on. So let's talk about what can start going wrong with your tank during a power outage and what you can do with no power or limited power to keep your tank running and your fish alive. The first issue is anaerobic bacteria. If you take nothing else from this video, I need you to please hear me and remember to unplug your filter the second your lights go out. The reason for this is that the inside of your filter is a compressed area, which in terms of bacterial growth is pretty much all substrate, which means that when there is not fresh oxygenated water running through it because the filter is off, it's going to become an anaerobic environment, meaning there is not enough oxygen in the filter. This means that anaerobic bacteria is going to start to grow in there. When anaerobic bacteria is suddenly introduced to an oxygenated water column, it starts rapidly sucking out all of the oxygen from the water. This can very quickly suffocate your fish. I won't get super far into that in this video because this is about hurricane preparedness, but it can literally wipe out an entire tank depending on how much bacteria was released, how much oxygen was already in the water, etc. Anaerobic bacteria isn't the only thing that can build up in your filter and cause an issue, but it is the scariest one. So if your power is off for, say, 2 days, right? 48 hours. That is definitely enough time for anaerobic bacteria and a bunch of other nasty stuff to start festering in there. So if you leave it plugged in, eventually your power is going to come back on. And you're going to be like, hell yeah. You're going to have a religious experience as you hear your air conditioner kick back on. You're going to immediately open TikTok and start doom scrolling again because your Wi-Fi is finally back. And your filter is going to automatically turn back on. Because it's been plugged in the whole time because you didn't listen to me. Which means it is going to flush all of that anaerobic bacteria and any other nasty stuff that is built up in there right back into your fish tank, and there's a good chance your fish are gonna die, if not just get really sick. It's gonna be a mess. So do not leave your filters plugged in when the power is out because you don't know how long the power is going to be out for. Don't rely on your memory to remember to unplug it later. If the power is out for more than a few hours, okay, I'll unplug it. No, you have 1,000 other things going on. Don't rely on yourself to remember that later. Just unplug it now. The name of the game is oxygen. Oxygen diffuses into water via surface agitation. So when you run a bubbler and those bubbles all float up to the top, it's not the actual bubbles themselves that are giving the tank the oxygen. It's the movement that is created when those bubbles pop on the surface that diffuses the oxygen into your water, which your fish then use to breathe. Stagnant water will lose oxygen pretty quickly, especially if there are organisms within it using that oxygen, like fish. So you want to keep your water moving. So the first thing you want to make sure you have on hand is an air pump and an air stone. But if you do have access to a generator, but you're limited as to what you can plug into it, you want to prioritize the air pump and the air stone. If you only have an air pump, but you don't have an air stone, that's totally okay. Just run that tubing all the way to the bottom, weigh it down with a rock, let the big bubbles go up. If anything, that might even be a better option because that's going to be creating even more surface agitation because you have those giant giant bubbles popping at the top, especially if you don't have your filter running, you don't have your power head running, etc., right? If you do not have power of any kind, that is totally okay. You are going to go to a sporting goods store or a fishing store, not a fish store, a fishing store, and you're gonna get one of these or these similar. This is a bait bubbler. That's what it's called. This one takes 2D batteries. You literally just snap them in there. You turn it on and it pushes air into the tank. Hear that? Can you hear that? And again, you don't even have to use an air stone with these. An air stone will fit. I just use a suction cup and I suction cup them to kind of like the bottom of the tank. And then it just releases big bubbles, which again is more agitation, so kind of a good thing. I have had these for a long time. I've used them year over year and they have all held up. I noticed the batteries last about a full 24 hours. I could probably push them further, but I always get nervous that they're gonna run out and I'm not gonna notice and then my fish are gonna suffocate. You could probably get more time out of them. I change the batteries every 24 hours. So when you buy these, also buy a bunch of batteries so that you can keep them running for days if you have to. For small tanks, I really only use one of these. For anything over like 40 or 50 gallons, I usually put 2 on the tank. Kind of just depends, but that's like my rule with it. This is just one brand. This is the one that I have. There's a ton of different kinds of them. There also are battery powered air pumps that are specifically made for fish tanks. Last time I looked, these were cheaper and the batteries lasted longer. So I would just go for this personally, but if you want to try out the air pump that's specifically for a fish tank and is battery powered, period, give it a try, whatever. Okay, so assuming your filter is not able to be running right now, your next biggest issue is ammonia buildup. One way to deal with this is big floating plants. You want plants that are taking a large amount of nutrients directly out of your water column, so floating plants. Water Sprite, water wisteria, and pothos are all pretty much impossible to kill and are very easy to get established. And it's good to get them established now, even if you start them in another tank or a bucket or whatever, so that way they're ready to do some ammonia removing work for you later. If you have fish that will try to eat the plants, then you could put the plant in a breeder box or a net to prevent the fish from getting to it. Or you could do what I did and you can make a root box, which is basically just 2 pieces of acrylic that I drilled a bunch of holes in, silicone together, and then slapped in the corner of the tank. Now my goldfish can't eat my pothos roots. Look at that. That's going to help a little bit. The next thing that you're going to want to do is feed less. So either in the way of smaller meals or less frequent feedings. If you feed your fish twice a day, cut it down to once a day. If you feed them a tablespoon, cut it down to half a tablespoon. It definitely depends on your fish, how much they eat in general and how much they need to survive. Most fish can actually go a while without eating, as in like days. Personally, I don't usually push it that far. I usually just cut their feeding schedule in half. Most of my fish eat once a day, so I just start feeding them every other day. The next thing you're going to want to do is spot clean like a motherfucker. You do not want any uneaten food sitting on the bottom of your tank right now. If you have bottom feeders and you have to leave some, okay, but try to like spot feed them and really only let them get like the bare minimum. Don't leave it sitting there. Same thing with fish poop, dead leaves, etc. Any little thing that can start breaking down in your tank, if it's visible, get it out of there. I wouldn't recommend using a gravel vac in this situation because a gravel vac can disturb the beneficial bacteria that is living on your substrate, and you definitely don't want to piss off your beneficial bacteria in this situation. So I would recommend using small tubing rather than a full gravel vac. This size tubing is good. It's a little more than half an inch. I'm not really sure what this is or what it even came with. I just had it for some reason. But something small, just suck anything that's in there out and just spot clean a lot. Now, what about water changes? That's, of course, going to be the single best way to keep your ammonia levels down when your filter is not able to be running. If your water plant has not lost power, so you still have access to clean water, then just run those water changes. How often you need to do said water changes during a power outage is going to really depend on your tank. A tank with a small bioload and a lot of plants, like a beta tank, is probably not going to need a lot of water changes, or maybe none at all. A tank with a high bioload and no plants, like a goldfish tank, is going to need them a lot. I like probably every day. It is a good idea to assume that you will not have clean water though. All it takes is your local water plant losing power and you are assume that that is going to happen. It's better to have it but not need it, you know what I mean? So for that, what you can do to prepare is just find any containers that you can and fill them up with fresh water. So you can save water jugs, you can use buckets, you can use an empty trash can, you can use your bathtub, you can use Tupperware, you can use those big Tupperware totes. Anything that holds water and doesn't have a bunch of chemicals in it will be fine for this. Rinse it out really good, throw some water in there. Now you have your water for water changes if you lose water. You're probably going to be doing that anyways for drinking water unless you're buying a bunch of bottles. Obviously, buying water bottles can be really hard during a hurricane or when there's one coming at you because people are crazy and stores price gouge. There's a lot of problems in this world. The next issue is heat. So if your power is off, it means that your AC is off. If you've been living in the Southeast for a while, you definitely understand the misery of being without air conditioner for days in the middle of August because of some fuck-ass storm. This means that at first, your tank is gonna cool down a little bit to your ambient room temperature if it was a heated tank, but over time, your tanks are gonna heat up just like the rest of your house. So that initial drop is actually okay. I really wouldn't worry about running a heater at all during this situation. Going back to oxygen for a second, cooler water actually holds a little bit more dissolved oxygen than colder water does. So that initial cool off is actually kind of a good thing. And most fish are okay with it. It happens so gradually that it's really unlikely it's gonna hurt them. However, once it starts getting hotter, that can cause some problems. A, it's now going to hold a little less oxygen. And B, it might get too hot and stress out your fish. Your fish are more likely to be stressed and potentially die from heat than they are from cold. Most of the time within reason, okay? So here are some ways to try to keep your tanks cool when you do not have air conditioning and or power. Blackout curtains. Close your blinds, close your curtains. Now's a good time to get some really good heat resistant blackout curtains. They can definitely help keep the room a little bit cooler. They'll block out all that sunlight. Now, of course, if you end up in the absolutely miserable situation of outside actually being cooler than inside, then reverse what I just said and open your windows, but do still try to block the sunlight because the sunlight will still heat things up regardless of the room temperature. So open the window, but keep the curtain closed. You know what I mean? Another option is the classic tin foil. You can put tin foil on your windows to reflect some of the heat away. Most people do this wrong though. Do not put the tin foil inside. Put it on the outside of your window. If you put it inside, it can actually end up trapping heat in between the foil and the glass. And then it just kind of bounces back and forth and it heats up really fast and you end up creating more heat in the room. So if you go for the tin foil, put it on the outside, okay? Outside. The next thing is a battery powered or a USB rechargeable fan. Not USB powered, USB rechargeable. If it's battery powered, then of course buy a bunch of extra batteries with it. If it's USB rechargeable, you can charge it in your car, assuming that your car didn't float away during the hurricane. Not funny. That happens to people. No, but like for real. How would a tiny fan help you? So heat rises, right? And we can use that to our advantage in this situation. So if you clip a small fan to the side of your tank and let it blow right over the surface, that is going to blow away the hot air that is rising from your tank, thus cooling the temperature of your tank a little bit. Another thing you can use is, of course, ice. To deal with the potential chlorination or contamination issue with ice, I usually just freeze Ziploc bags of water in the days before the storm. Most people do that to then use in their fridge or in a cooler for food. So since you're probably going to be doing that anyways, just make some extra for your fish tanks. Especially if you have a cold water tank, like say you're running a chiller, definitely make like a whole nother cooler that is just ice for your tank at that point. Now, once again, heat rises, right? So you're gonna wanna take your lids off because glass lids will insulate and keep some of that heat in. We want to allow that heat to escape, right? Well, what if my fish are jumpers? That's okay. Mine are too. Here's what I did. If you are able to find the reptile style metal screen lids for your size tank, then just do that and now you're good. You can get some lid locks for it, like the snake keepers always have to use. That way, if a big fish jumps really hard, it won't knock the lid off, right? If your tank is very big or weird dimensions and you're not able to get a manufactured screen lid like that for it, also okay. You're gonna buy some door screen mesh. It's super cheap. Then you're also gonna buy some rope, also very cheap. And you're just gonna tie it around the edge of the tank. It's gonna look like shit, but god damn it, your fish will not be able to jump out. And they'll be cool because the heat will be rising and you'll have a fan blowing and everything will be fine. And now we get to generators. So if you lose power during a hurricane, obviously any solution to any problem is going to be having a generator. And like I said in the beginning, the best time to buy one of those is right now because they're not going to be out of stock. If you have to order one online, you have time for it to be delivered. You have time to figure out how to use it safely. But of course, generators come with their own pros and cons, so let's just go over them real quick in the context of fish tanks. Number one, gas and propane generators have to be used outside. That seems like a very obvious thing, right? But quick fun fact, in Florida, it's not funny. In Florida, more people have died or been injured from generator accidents than the actual hurricanes themselves in the last 30 years. I'm not joking. You can look that up. So is it obvious to keep your generator outside? You would think so, but I figured I would say it anyways. Also, don't blow yourself up if it's propane, okay? Don't explode yourself, please, God. So with this whole needing to be outside thing, it also means that you're going to need a very long extension cord that can reach from outside to your tank. So if you don't have one that is long enough, now is a good time to take some measurements and get that going. The next thing with generators is prioritization. Usually with generators, you only have so many outlets and so much gas/propane. And as we all know, good luck finding more gas in the days just before or just after a hurricane. So when you're deciding what to plug in and run, here is my order of operations that I suggest. Airstone, filter, chiller if you have cold water, heater if you even need it, given how hot your house is gonna get, power heads, then things like electronic CO2 regulators or like any other stuff that you have. I honestly probably would not even be using those during a hurricane just because there would be so many other things that you could plug in first, but like whatever. If you have a lot of extra space and gas, I guess go for it. Oh, and if we're working with salt water, then I would put like salinity monitors and like auto top-off systems. I would put them like way up here. Same thing with like skimmers. Be like around here somewhere. Sorry, I don't have salt water right now, so I kind of forget about you guys a lot. That's my bad. Sorry. There's also the option of solar generators. Personally, I have never had good luck with these in the context of fish tanks. In my experience, they just aren't powerful enough to run multiple tanks 24/7, even if you're just running a couple things for each tank. I hate to encourage the use of gas and propane because I'm an environmental girly, but in my experience, the solar ones just like aren't strong enough for fish tanks. Like they're just not doing it. But if you have had good luck with those, Godspeed, use a solar one. Then you probably won't blow yourself up. So that's good. Unless the battery sets on fire. And then you're like really because like they can't even put those out. And like first responders have a hard time getting out during hurricanes. Like it's a whole thing, dude. Everything sucks. I don't know. There's really not a lot of good options. But if you have a good solar one, then obviously use that. Now, if you are watching this video as the eye of a hurricane is actively passing over your house because YouTube did not recommend you this video back when I posted it, that's okay. And that was me a few years ago. If you still have access to clean water, rinse out your bathtub really, really, really well right now and fill it up so you're ready to start doing water changes when you need to. And like I stated way earlier in this video, the name of the game and the most important thing is A, unplug your filter, and B, oxygen. And once again, YouTube's algorithm didn't like you or me enough to show you this video earlier. So what are you going to do about oxygen? Because you don't have bait bubblers and you don't have a battery powered airstone. That's okay. And this is where we talk about thugging it out. You're going to take a cup or a bucket, depending on how big your tank is. You're gonna dip it way into the bottom of the tank, and then you're gonna lift it out of the water above your head so it's really high, and you're gonna dump it back in so it creates a lot of surface agitation. You're gonna do this like a lot of times. Like, you're gonna feel like you're doing Pilates, okay? Like, get a workout in, like switch arms, right? Depends on the size of the tank. A small tank, I don't know, maybe you only have to do this 5 or 10 times. Big tank, 75 gallon, you're doing this like 30 times, okay? You are getting a ton of oxygen into that water. And then you're gonna do that every hour, including overnight. Again, big fish, high bio load, no plants, every hour overnight. Small tank, low bio load, lots of plants, I don't know, every few hours. It's really gonna depend on your situation and also how hot it is. It is possible to over-oxygenate a tank, but the chances that you are going to be able to manually achieve that much oxygen in your water and cause your fish to go hyperoxic, very unlikely, very unlikely. More is like probably better within reason. The last thing we're going to talk about is evacuating. If you are evacuating and you are not able to bring your fish with you, obviously that's a very hard time. That's a very hard decision to make. But you can give them the best chance at success and survival by doing a big water change right before you leave. And again, having those bait bubblers and changing the batteries right before you leave. Last thing you do before you walk out the door, make sure that tank is as oxygenated as possible. Also, maybe you have a neighbor who is a crazy native Floridian like myself and is going to stay 99% of the time. If you're comfortable with them, you can ask them if they can come over and change the batteries and the bubblers for you. Maybe they can feed the fish for you, right? See if anyone around you is staying, and if they're willing to help you out, tell them that you'll help them clean up their yard afterwards or something. You know what I mean? Hurricanes are a great time to get good at bartering with neighbors. It's one of my favorite parts, actually. And here's the other thing, you can bring them with you. I present to you the Home Depot bucket or the Tupperware tote. Also, saran wrap or lids that you can drill holes in. You're gonna fill these bitches up with tank water, throw a bait bubbler on the side, put the lid on, and put them in the back seat. If you're able to grab some extra jugs of water to do water changes with, then awesome, bring those. Bring their food, bring their dechlorinator. And once you get to wherever you're going, just keep changing that water, keep it clean. Yeah, it sucks. They're gonna be stressed out, you're gonna be stressed out, no one's having a good time, but you're able to bring them. It is possible to evacuate your fish. Obviously, if they're super hard fish, that's going to be harder, and that's where we go back to bartering with your neighbors. But still, it's worth giving it a thought and seeing if it would be possible and feasible for you to just bring them. Now, in this part, I have to be a little careful about how I phrase. Say that you are evacuating to a establishment that doesn't want to see your fish. They just don't want to see them, right? Like they just don't want to see them, right? Like, it's a place where a lot of people stay and a lot of people evacuate to during hurricanes, and you don't want them to see your fish, right? In that situation, you're going to bring an extra suitcase. And when you get to the parking lot of said establishment, you are going to individually bag all of your fish and put said bags in the suitcase. Then you are going to empty the buckets and put some of your belongings in the buckets so it looks like you are just carrying your stuff in buckets. It's a hurricane. People are carrying all kinds of stuff in all kinds of things. Okay, no one's going to ask questions. Then once you get up to your room in this establishment, you are obviously going to take your belongings out of the bucket, put fresh water in it, dechlorinate it, and debag your fish. Put them back in the buckets. However, you're going to make sure that those buckets are in the bathroom. And then when the people who do the cleaning at this establishment come by to clean your room, one of you is going to get in the shower every single time. Sorry, you can't go in there right now. Someone has their out in there. Worst case scenario, if they're like, no, we really have to get in there, like we have to clean the room every 48 hours or whatever, it's our policy. Okay, fine. You're going to rebag the fish. You're going to put them back in that suitcase. You're going to let the people who clean this establishment clean the establishment. And then when they leave, you're going to put them back in the bathroom in the bucket. And then they won't see your fish because they didn't want to see your fish, right? Totally hypothetical, of course, just something that someone could hypothetically do if they were such a terrible and unethical person that they cared more about their pets surviving than, someone not wanting to see their pet during an emergency situation where they might lose everything they own and love. So definitely not anything I've ever done, and entirely fictitious. Either way, yeah, those are my tips and tricks for surviving hurricanes with your fish. Like I said, the best time to prepare is now, before the stores are crazy, before the prices are gouged, before the delivery windows are too short, and before you are stressed out trying to figure out everything else. Also, I'm sure there's a lot of other ways that people have figured out to make things work during hurricanes and power outages with fish tanks. So if that is you and you have a fun tip or trick, please feel free to comment it so we can all help each other keep our fish alive. Okay, bye.